everybody, and welcome back to my channel. My name is Ben Sanders. This is something that I've been trying to do for some time, and this is something that's very different from the usual type of things that my channel has been known for. This is actually going to be my very first video game review, and I hope that you enjoy it. This is Yono and the Celestial Elephants. Let's begin. So what exactly is this game about? Now, I wasn't exactly sure when I first saw the content trailers for this, and that's mainly because I was drawn in by how absolutely adorable the content art for it is. But what is this game about? In this alternate Earth that hosts the story of Yono and the Celestial Elephants, elephants are basically gods. They are deity-like protectors of the world that are born from the stars, and they're born once per millennium, so they're not that common. Now, in the age of our story, that elephant is our hero, little Yono. Despite being something of a chosen one, he is still a stranger in a world ruled by something of a feudal human race that is also inhabited by this ascetic, undead bone white that is alongside a complex robotic people known as the Makani. It is very hard for little Yono to keep himself out of trouble. However, as the celestial elephant, everyone seems to believe that this small child of an elephant is able to solve all of their problems, and this immediately throws him into a world of adventure. What drew me into this game initially was actually how cute and just absolutely endearing the art style for this is. That said, I will also add that art can only get you so far in a gameplay's value. I can also say that the clean and crisp imagery remains vivid throughout the entire gameplay experience, and I never really felt like it was lacking in any particular area of the game. There are enough different locations throughout the entire experience, from our first real destination of Windhill Village and our large capital city where we get our first main chunk of story and plot, even with all of the sprinkling forest, caves, and other nasty little dungeons that we get to explore. There's plenty of different things to look at and experience with this story. There are winter and autumnal landscapes for us to really experience with our eyes. There's a lot of flavor that not only keeps things looking fresh, but it even allows for new ways to interact with your environment. But how do we actually play the game? This is a block puzzle game as its main focus, and it's brought to us in an isometric view, and this simple playing field brought together with the already described minimalistic art style is all done by a single person. Yes, this game was made by one guy, and that is Nicholas Hallin of Neckbolt Games. And I have to admit, I wasn't really expecting all that much when it comes to a mind-bending puzzle, considering this guy already had a lot on his plate when it comes to making a frackin' video game. But I do have to commend Nicholas, because while a lot of the puzzles are rather straightforward and easy to understand, it feels like this was done intentionally, so that way the player is somehow instructed on how some of the gameplay mechanics function, rather than have the instructions forced down your throat in some kind of tutorial level like we sometimes get. Not to say that that's a bad way to do it with tutorial levels, but this was just another way to present things, and I thought that it was really well done. As we progress in the story, we also happen to discover new objects and other things that we get to interact with, and with a bit of experimentation, because of course it's a video game, we're going to try and play with things, it's part of the game, we get to see just how they all work together with things that we've used before, and we kind of have to combine all of these things in our arsenal to solve each of the successive puzzles. Now, while most puzzles are centralized to a single room or maybe two rooms and can be solved within a minute or two, I admit that there are a few times where I had to stop and scratch my head to figure out just how to make things mesh the right way to move forward. It just goes to show that underneath the cute exterior of this adorable little elephant can be a rewarding brain teaser. So this world is filled to the brim with NPCs of each of the three races, and all of them seem very excited to meet our little baby elephant. But why though? He's like 2 hours old. It's because early on in the story, we're told that there's some kind of brewing chaos, and it's up to us to kind of figure out what this mysterious problem is. How do we go about doing that, you might wonder? Well, we're supposed to travel to the 3 major cities of the world and figure out what we can do to help people with their problems. Now, some of these problems are pretty small, like help people water flowers, find their lost dog. Some problems are a lot bigger in scale, and I would love to talk to you about them. However, that's very spoilery, and then there wouldn't really be much point to you playing the game. So, not going to mention it, but if you do play the game, feel free to come back to this video and comment about what you thought about it. But with these larger problems and things, you're going to need a couple of friends to help you along the way to handle them. And it's a good thing that you do have some friends, trust me about this. You end up meeting a young girl named Sundara. She is lively, full of energy, and she is always looking for a chance to pull some kind of prank. There is also a young boy named Kai who's something of a lost cause to his monk order, and he wholeheartedly believes in the elephants, so meeting you is basically meeting his childhood hero, even though he's still in his childhood, so that's a little bit of a paradox, but it's fine, don't think about it that hard. Let's do a quick breakdown of things that we pick up during this game. First, there are a few smaller items, and that number 1 is going to be money. These coins look more like wooden blocks to me than actual currency, but they only really serve one purpose, and I'll discuss that in a moment. Next is the health recovery item, which is pretty self-explanatory. You break some jars, you recover some lost health. Next, and more importantly, is the health token, similarly named much more useful. These look a lot like a gear with the health recovery item in the center of them, and they can be found in a large red treasure chest or can also be given to you by an NPC after completing the side quest. Bearing that in mind, I highly suggest you spend some time in each city doing these side quests to make sure you find as many of these tokens as you can. The purpose of these tokens is to be given to an NPC Makani that look like a vending machine that can be found in each of the 3 major cities. When you give them 4 of these tokens, your maximum health will increase by 1. So our next collectible is letters, and I'm not talking about a written letter, I'm talking about the actual single letter that makes up a word. I found this to be pretty interesting because in the capital city of Nightingale, we have a monk's temple to the elephants where there's a lore master. He's really just sitting there taking a nap and would eventually like to help our little blue friend here learn from the ancient stories of elephants past, so that way Yono can kind of get a little bit of guidance on what it means to be a celestial elephant. The big problem here is with the age of these books that he wants to try and teach Yono from. These books and stories kind of fallen to dust. Our objective now is to collect these letters, provide them to the lore master so he can reconstruct the original stories so that way Yono can actually read them. And now I get to talk to you guys about my favorite addition to this game. It really doesn't have that much of an effect on gameplay value or anything, but it was actually my favorite part of it. And that was we get to buy special costumes for our little buddy to wear. That's what the money's for. That's it. There are tons of costumes to choose from, and with each new city that you visit, you actually get access to new ones. The way that you purchase these costumes is that you actually have to enter a building that has something that looks like a barbershop pole in front of it. I got to play as Yono, dressed as Link, for the remainder of my game. The second that I saw that that was available, I grabbed it, and I was running around this entire kingdom wearing that little green hat, and it was absolutely adorable. But now that I've gushed about all of that, let's actually break down the pros and cons of this game. The first pro is that there is absolutely beautiful gameplay that never fades. This game is cute and has interesting artwork that drew me in, and it kept me interested the entire time I was playing this game. It was always clear what I was looking out for and what I was trying to interact with, and I was never really confused with a puzzle and how to operate something. Pro number 2 is that it has simple puzzle design that builds on itself. So while these puzzles were mostly very simple, it's good to have on hand for an enjoyable, relaxing gameplay experience. Pro number 3 is the interesting world to explore. Now, while this is a small world, again, with a short gameplay time, no matter which city I found myself in, I was always searching every little nook and cranny. I was talking to every single NPC because it was a bit on the small side and everything served a purpose while I was in that small space. Our fourth and final pro is that it has a strong plot. While you get enough of it just by speeding through the main story, you get so much more by slowing down and talking to the other NPCs. And yes, while many of them have a single line of dialogue, which is fine, there are many who will have several lines of dialogue if you chose to speak with them more than once. Now, the one really big con for this game for me is that the combat was weak for one glaring flaw. The headbutt mechanic is twofold, a puzzle-based mechanic and a combat mechanic. Now, while it worked flawlessly in the puzzles, in combat, it wouldn't work if you attacked when the enemy was too close on occasion, and this would result in you getting hit instead. I'm not really sure where else to put this, but for 5.5 hours as an average time to beat, a $14.99 price tag might be considered too steep a price for some players. Personally, having played the game, I feel it was perfectly fine. This can be purchased both on Steam and on Nintendo Switch. Steam is well known for constantly having sales, so you can pick it up super cheap there if it happens to go on sale. If you happen to think that this is a little bit of a steep price, maybe put it on a wish list and see if you can get it on sale, and I think that you'll find that this game is a very pleasant surprise. Finally, let's bring up my overall rating. I think that Yono and the Celestial Elephants has absolutely earned a solid 8 out of 10. But that is all for today's video. Please let me know what you guys thought about it in the comments section down below. If you enjoyed it, if this is a new kind of content for you, if you used to watch my other content, let me know what you thought about this shift. If this is something new for you and this is the first kind of content you've seen me do, please feel free to like this video, share it out, subscribe. I hope that you're having a fantastic, amazing, wonderful day because you are fantastic, amazing, wonderful people. I love each and every single one of you, and I'll talk to you all again soon. See ya.